Hi everybody, this is Crystal. So today I'm going to show you how to make this bag here. It's very, very easy to do. So why don't we go ahead and take some measurements. So you can leave off the flowers if you want, but I do show you how to make them at the end. And the buttons are, I just purchased at Walmart and they are just sewed on. So the size of this bag is about 12 inches, pretty close. Yeah, 12. And then from this part of the handle down to the base is 10, and then if you go to the top of the handle down is 12. So like I said, it's very easy. It's worked from the bottom up, and then we sew the bottom and then we add the handle. Now what's interesting about this is it's a very common stitch. I have tails to hide still. If you look on the inside, or if I flip it the other way, you'll see it is the moss stitch. See that? If you're familiar with the moss stitch, that's what this bag is. But it's the moss stitch wrong side out, because I think it looks cool like that. So that's how I did it. It's very, like I said, very easy, very versatile. It works well in gradient yarns like this, solid yarns, variegated yarns, striped yarns, any ombre yarns, any type of yarn that you'd like. This stitch will work well in it. So let me go ahead and move it to the side. So all it is this we're working in the round, the moss stitch, and then we're going to, if you want to, like I did, flip it wrong side out and then put the handle on. Or you could leave it right side out too, because it looks well both ways, but I explain that later in the video. Okay, for this particular project, I use yarn, Snob Yarns. I'll put a link below to where you can purchase this if you want to. It's his gradient cake. It's a 4-weight yarn, 100% superwash merino. The color is called Palmer Orchards. There are 363 yards in this cake, and this is what I have left. So that's about what you're going to need. About 360 yards of any 4-weight. You do not have to use that yarn. Like I said, it's going to look good in any 4-weight yarn that you choose. Now, if you choose to line this bag, which I might at a later date, I will put a video in the description box of other bags that I've done that I've lined, and you can watch that there, the lining process that I do, and it'll teach you how to line a bag. So look for that link as well in the description box. But remember, any 4-weight yarn will work just fine for this bag. And then I'm going to be using a J, which is a 6mm crochet hook. So let's go ahead and do this. Alright, I'm going to show you on a little bit smaller of a scale how to start the bag. Now this stitch is done in any even number of stitches. In case you want to make the bag bigger than 12 inches, any even number will work. Now when you start out, you want to leave a long tail, a couple feet, to sew up the bottom when we're finished. It's easier that way. So leave your long tail. Now for my size, I chained 110 stitches, and then we're going to connect it and make one big ring. So once you get your chain of 110 made, we're going to slip stitch it together to form one large ring. And that's going to be the base of our bag, and then we'll work up. So chain your 110 or any even number of stitches, and then go ahead and follow it down without twisting your chain, and slip stitch into the first stitch to form a ring. Like that. And then we will start off by chaining 1, which does not which does not count as a stitch. Now we're going to go back into the very first stitch that we just slip stitched into and work a single crochet, and then we're going to work around putting 1 single crochet in every stitch of our chain. Just like this. Remember, I'm working mine on a smaller scale, but if you're following along with me, you'll have 110. So I'm going to continue around my ring, putting 1 single crochet in every stitch until I make it back to my starting point. Just like that. All right, once you make it back to the beginning, you should have 110 stitches. And we're gonna go ahead and end by slip stitching into our first single crochet, not the chain one, but the first single crochet, just like that. Now the bottom remains open until we get the bag taller, and then before we put the handle on, we will sew it together. So go ahead, so don't worry about the bag being open. And now we're going to go ahead and start by row 2 by chaining 2. 1, 2, like that. Now we're going to skip 1 stitch and we're going to single crochet into the next. So skip this one and single into the next. Now we're going to start the repeat by chaining 1, skipping 1, and single into the next. Chain 1, skip 1, and single into the next. Isn't that easy? Chain 1, skip 1, single into the next. And this is what we're going to repeat all the way around. Chain 1, skip 1, single into the next. Chain 1, skip 1, single into the next. And you want to repeat this all the way around until you get to your last stitch of your row. Alright, so I've made it all the way around, and you should have 1 stitch that remains. It looks, see, here's my chain 2. I know it looks like there's 2, but actually this one right here is where we slip stitched before. So there's 1 stitch left. And what we're going to do now is we're going to be working in a continual round, which means we will not end our rounds in slip stitches, and there will be no visible seam on the bag. There will be no seam at all. So if you want to use a stitch marker right here, that way you know where you end and where you begin, you can. I'm going to use a piece of yarn and go ahead and set it right here. And row 3 is what we're going to start now, and it's going to be the repeat row of the whole bag. So I did a single crochet here and I chained 1. Now I'm going to skip that last stitch, and in this space here I'm going to single crochet, chain 1, and then I'm going to single crochet into the next chain 1 space and chain 1, and then I'm going to single crochet into the next chain 1 space and chain 1. And this is what I'm going to do all the way around. Single crochet into the next chain 1 space. So we're skipping this 1 single, and we're only single crocheting into the chain 1 space, and then we're chaining 1. Single crochet into the next chain 1 space, chain 1, single into the next chain 1 space, chain 1, and go ahead and repeat this until you make it back to your stitch marker. Alright, I've made it back to my stitch marker, and all I'm going to do is repeat it again. So I got to make sure I chain 1 after that last single crochet, and here is where my stitch marker is. So I'm going to single crochet into that spot and chain 1, move my marker up, and repeat. Single crochet into the next chain 1 space, chain 1. Single crochet into the next chain 1 space, chain 1. Single crochet into the next chain 1 space and chain 1. So we'll just repeat that round and around and around and around. And if you lose your marker along the way, it's fine, because I don't even really use a marker. I use this tail right here as my marker. So when it comes time to sew the bag up, we find the tail and we kind of fold it at that point, and I know that's going to be the side. So you can do that too, because that's how we're going to sew it up later. So if you lose your tail, don't worry about it. Just keep doing rounds of 1 single crochet in each chain space, and then chain 1 round and round and round until your bag reaches about 9 inches. Now, I must say, your bag will look funny for a while. It'll probably flare out a bit at the bottom, and that's fine. That's normal. Don't worry about it. And remember, this is the right side of the work. This is the moss stitch right here. My bag, excuse me, when I sewed it, I flipped it this way, so it looks like that. You can do it either way you want. It looks good both ways, but just so you know, that's how it looks while we work it. It doesn't look like this until you flip it, and then it starts, then it starts to look like that. See that? But You just continue doing the single crochet in every chain one space and then chain one. Single crochet in the chain one space, chain one. Around and around and around and around. And I'll see you whenever you're at about 9 inches, and we'll put the handle on. We'll sew it up and put the handle on. All right, when your piece measures, you don't have to go by the same rows as me, but once it measures about 9 inches, so from down here at the bottom all the way up, I got about 9 inches. All right, just stop there. Don't clip off your yarn or anything. But what we're gonna do, I'm just gonna pull it up here a little bit so I don't lose it. But don't clip it, because we're gonna continue. Is I'm gonna sew up the bottom real quick. So, the moss stitch looks like this on the front, and I think it looks really good on the opposite direction too. So you can use either side of that you like. That is completely up to you. That is cool looking. No, that's a cool stitch right there. You know what? I think I'm going to use the wrong side of the moss stitch. You know what? I don't even have to call it the wrong side. Just the opposite side of the moss stitch, because that is cool looking. So whatever side you decide to use, so I'm going to use the wrong side, so I want to flip it the right side. Remember, you can use either side you want. And now we're going to sew up the bottom. So remember I had you leave that long tail. Well, what did I just do here? At the beginning, that's what we're going to use to sew it up with. So, make everything how it's supposed to be here. Okay, and since I'm going to be using the wrong side of the moss stitch, because I think it's so cool, I'm going to sew it with the right side of the moss stitch facing me. That way, whenever you won't be able to see any, I'll flip it right side out. Well, actually, it'll be wrong side out, but okay. So here is my long tail. Now, when you stop at the top, kind of stop at a spot that's kind of where that tail is along the side. As you can see what I did. See where I stopped? I didn't clip off, but where I stopped. If I go down, my tail, it's kind of even with my tail. All right. So now we're going to take our yarn here and sew up the bottom. You can sew it up with a yarn needle, or you can slip stitch it together. I think I'm just going to I hope I have enough. I hope I left enough. I think I'll use a yarn needle, but either way works, you know. Hopefully, if I didn't leave enough, I'll have to add some more to it. But I'm just going to go along, and I'm going to use the back and forth method and sew it up one stitch at a time like this. Grab a stitch on this side and the same stitch on the opposite side, and make sure you sew it tight. Okay, and we're going to do this all the way down. I don't know why I like the opposite side of the moss. It looks so cool. It's interesting to me. I don't know if I've ever even really paid attention to the opposite side before. So go ahead and get this bottom sewn up, our bag here, and then we'll flip it inside out, whatever way is. Remember, we're sewing wrong side right now. But since I chose the wrong side to be my right side, I'm actually, because that's cool looking. I mean, it looks similar, I guess, but it still looks pretty cool. So I'm going to do this all the way across, and I'll meet back up with you here when we get done sewing up the bottom here. All right, so I went all the way across, and then I went back a little bit more to kind of hide my tail, and then I'm going to clip that off. Now I'm going to flip it to where the side that I want facing me is facing me. Let's check out that seam. It's a nice seam at the bottom there. It turned out nice. Ooh, I'm liking it. I'm liking it. get them corners pushed out there a little bit. Yeah, it's a nice clean seam there at the bottom. All right, now we're gonna pick up where we left off. Okay, so we're gonna start the handles now, but first we're just gonna pick up where we left off. So what we're gonna do though, if you flipped it wrong side out like I did, you're going to have to turn your work to make the single crochets go the right way. But if you left it to where this is showing, you won't have to do that. So I'm gonna go back to where I started here, and I am going to just turn my work around. So now my single crochets are going in the opposite direction now. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to be working a row of single crochet, one single crochet in every single crochet and in every chain one space, all the way around until I get back right here to where I started. So I'm going in the single crochet and the chain one space. I'm going to continue this, and I'll meet back up with you at our starting point. Remember, if you kept your moss stitch the right side facing you, just continue around working. You wouldn't have had to turn your work to make the single crochets face the right way. But I got to be different, I guess. So, but that's fine. Turning my work is no big deal. So I'm going to meet back up with you after this first round of one single crochet in every stitch and one single crochet in every chain one space. Right here, I'll meet up with you. All right, so once you make it back to your stitch marker, you should have 110 stitches, which is what we started with. Now we're going to be using a stitch marker. So I'm just going to use a piece of yarn, and I'm going to put it right here where I end and where I begin. I'm going to do a row of decreases now at the top here, single crochet decreases. So I'm just going to jump right over here to the first stitch, and I'm going to put a single crochet into the next 9 stitches. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And now I'm going to take the next 2 stitches and I'm going to do a single crochet decrease. So I'm going to go into the next one and drop a loop, and the next one after that and drop a loop. I'll have 3 loops on my hook. I'm going to yarn over and go through all 3. So that took 2 stitches and made it into 1. So this is what I'm going to repeat all the way around. Again, 1 single crochet in the next 9. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then single crochet decrease over the next 2. So you go into the next one, drop a loop, the next one after that, drop a loop, and then yarn over and go through all 3. So I'm going to repeat this pattern of 9 single crochets in a row and then a single crochet decrease all the way around until I get back to my starting point. Alright, so I made it back to my stitch marker, and you should have ended in a decrease, and you should have 100 stitches now. So I'm going to go ahead and pull my marker up, and I'm going to repeat what we just did again. So I'm going to put 1 single crochet into the next 9 stitches. and then I'm going to put a single crochet decrease into the next 2, just like that. So I'm just repeating what we did on the row before. 1 single crochet in 9 and a single crochet decrease in the next, and I'll meet back up with you over here at our stitch marker. Alright, so once you make it all the way around, you should have a total of 90 stitches. You have to have 90 here. So if you're missing one, just add an extra here at the end. If you have an extra one, just do a decrease so you have a total of 90. Now we're going to do the handles. So what we're going to do now, we're going to put 1 single crochet into the next 12 stitches. So no more decreasing. Make sure you move your marker up. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 'Alright, so there's 12. Now we need to skip 21 stitches. So go ahead and get another stitch marker and count 21 empty stitches. Starting from the very last stitch that you just did, don't count that one, but count the next one, the next empty one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And put a the stitch marker in the 22nd stitch. So let me count again, just to make sure that I have 21 in between this stitch and that marker. And I didn't move that over. Alright, so you need 21 empty stitches. And now what we're going to do is chain 21. Don't chain real tight because we got to go back into it. Alright, there's 21 chains, and now we're going to go ahead and single crochet, stretch this chain over and single crochet into the stitch with the stitch marker. So you should have 21 stitches that are empty now. You can go ahead and pull that marker out, and now we're going to go ahead and single crochet into the next 24, this single crochet being number 1. So that would be number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Alright, so I did my 24 stitches, and again we're going to mark off 21 empty stitches, which I did already, and then I'm going to chain 21. There's 21. Now go ahead and stretch your chain across here and single crochet into that stitch with the stitch marker. And you should have 12 stitches that remain, counting this first one here that we just did. So 1, 2, and there's 12. So we started with 12, we finished with 12, so that's a total of 24 on this side and 24 on this side, and 2 chain spaces here in the middle. Now we're going to go ahead and move our marker up, and we're just going to go around putting a single crochet in every stitch, including each stitch of our chain space. So just Just go ahead and work until you get to your chain space. All right, when you get to your chain space, we're going to put 1 single crochet in every stitch of the chain. So you'll have 21 stitches here. Sorry about that. All right. Once you get, make sure you get this very last one, because sometimes it gets really tight at the end. So make sure you get 1 in each of the 21 stitches of the chain. And then the very next one afterwards, you can see it's kind of small too. Make sure you get that. And then continue around, putting 1 single crochet in every stitch. And when you make it to your next chain space, you do the same. Put 1 single crochet in each of the 21 stitches of the chain, and then single crochet all the way around back to your stitch marker. And that's where I'll meet back up with you. All right, I made it back to my stitch marker. I'm going to go ahead and move it up, and now I'm just going to go around putting 1 single crochet in every stitch, including these single crochets of the handles. Now you can keep going around as many times as you'd like with single crochets to make your handles as thick as you'd like. So I'm going to continue around. My yarn's getting about close to being done, so I don't know how many more times I'll be able to go around. See, when I get to the handle here, I just continue putting 1 single crochet in every stitch, just like this. And we're going to do this all the way around, 1 single in every stitch until we make it back to our stitch marker. All right, so I have done 4 rounds on my handle of single crochet. Starting with that first one, there's 1, 2, 3, 4. Remember, you can do more if you like, however many you want. And then I made it back to my stitch marker, and what I'm going to do is just slip stitch into that stitch with the stitch marker. I'm going to clip this off, and I'll hide that in a minute. And you'll have to, wow, this is really pretty. Now, if you want to go around the inside here, you can with single crochet to kind of straighten it up. I think maybe, let me see here. If I want to make a flower or something, let me look. All right, I want to make a flower. You don't have to do this if you don't want to. So I'm going to do a chain, 6, slip stitch back into the first to form a ring. Like that. I'm going to chain 1, and now I'm going to do some puff stitches through the ring. So I'm going to yarn over, go through the ring, draw up a loop, and do that 5 times. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yarn over and go through all the loops, chain 1. And then I'm going to chain 2 more times for a total of 3. And I'm going to go back down and slip stitch into the ring. And I'm going to do that again. So I'm going to chain 1, and then I'm going to yarn over, go through the ring, draw up a loop 5 times. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. yarn over and go through all the loops, chain 1 to lock it, and then 2 more. Go back down and slip stitch into the ring. And then I'm going to repeat this until I have 5 petals. So chain 1, and then I'm going to do my puff again. So that's 3. That's 4. And do 1 more. Get my tail mixed up here. Let me start that one over. My tail got in the way. All right. Chain 1 and then 2 more. Slip stitch back down. And then I'm going to tie this off, leave a tail so you can sew. Close up that center circle just a little bit, but I actually have a button I'm going to put in the center of mine. Now you don't have to put these flowers on there, of course. That's just if you want to put a couple flowers here and there. You just sew them on like normal, and that's it. Your bag's done. I think it turned out super, super pretty. As far as sewing on these little puff flowers, just use one of these tails and your yarn needle, and you can just sew it on wherever you want, and sew this button on as well. I got the button at Walmart. You don't have to use the button. It looks good without the button. I'll probably put 3 little flowers here, and then, you know. I love it though. I hope you enjoyed my tutorial. I hope you were able to follow along okay. And don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you make this, show me a picture on my Bagoday Crochet Facebook page. And until next time, have a good day.